everybody on TikTok? What are you doing here? You guys could let us know if you can hear and see. Okay, that would be super helpful before we go ahead and get into. Is that how far back it normally is?
Yes.
It's really far. Okay. Very good. And all right, welcome. Welcome everyone on YouTube. Giving this a second for a few people to tune in here and there. Okay. You guys could give us, oh, thank you so much. All right, Megan, good to see you. Bugsy, Jessica, Shauna, Alex. Excellent. We're going to give this a second for a few people to tune in before we go ahead and get started. I do want to invite you guys, if you are in need of prayer or healing, we'll be doing our midweek. It's like 10 to 20 minutes. Our prayer service. Paul will be leading that after this. So that starts at 9 o'clock, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so at 9 o'clock back here on TikTok and YouTube, if you guys need prayer or healing, we do, of course, have Sunday service at 8 p.m. Eastern. Every week, Roots Revival Interfaith is our church. We hope to see you at service here. Right, if you want to listen to old services, you can click here on YouTube and listen to those. At about the halfway mark, we are going to be switching off of TikTok and go exclusively over here to YouTube. So for those of you that want to switch now, you may want to do that. It may be easier. You're going to go to Ask Ivy, and we're going to get to as many questions as we can. So today, should I go ahead and get started?
Please.
We have a few people tuned in. Okay, I do want to ask, though, everyone here on YouTube, if we could all hit that like button, that would be excellent. If you guys want to leave donations, it is greatly appreciated. You can hit that button. And if you want to become a member for behind-the-scenes extras, extra curriculum, direct spirit messages, your monthly astrology, things like that, you can hit the join button to become a member. So welcome everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Arawak, and I own a school called the Ivy League Psychic Academy where I train people internationally online in everything, ranging from psychic mediumship development to astrology, tarot, numerology, Reiki, you name it, we do it. Children as well as adults. And I hope to see you guys there for classes. Today I'm doing a free mini class. I put 1 to 2 free mini classes out per week here on my YouTube channel. And today we are talking about, are you a psychic, a medium, or an empath? So I encourage you guys to start posting your questions about your abilities now. Now, the reason we're doing this is to give you some insight on what abilities you have. So many people are confused. A lot of people think maybe I have something. I don't know, but this is what it looks like. These are the random bits of information that I get. What do I have? Or people think, okay, I'm an empath, or someone's told me I'm an empath, but what does it really mean? Am I? What level out of the 4 levels am I on? Or maybe you think you have mediumistic abilities, but you're like, I really don't even know what I'm supposed to do with this. And it comes and goes, whatever it is. A lot of people are trying to figure out too right now with their spiritual journey. Since we have the Great Awakening going on internationally, people want to know with their awakening what they're supposed to do next for their spiritual development. And so this is a great way to find out what a productive next step might be for you, okay? So go ahead, start posting your questions. My adorable producer over here, Paul. How are you, Polly?
Very lovely, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Polly will be taking your questions as quickly as he can in whatever order he sees fit, okay? So we do appreciate him putting in all that effort, and it would be best if you edit your questions and you make sure you're being clear and concise on what exactly it is that you're saying. That'll leave more room for your neighbor to get their question answered. Now, part of the reason I've chosen to do this particular class at this time is because we have the Psychic Mediumship course through the Ivy League Psychic Academy starting up on the 16th of February. Now, Psychic Mediumship course is covering the PSC method, a method that I designed, not being trained anywhere else in the world. It's the Psychology of Spirit Communication method. It focuses on psychic ability, empathic ability, and mediumistic abilities, not just one or the other. You need all three to understand the lost language. You will, in fact, be trained in the lost language. I hide no secrets. Everything that everyone else hoards and won't tell you about, I reveal, and I train you very simply. You'll be giving readings your very first class. Everybody does. So you don't need any previous experience whatsoever. It's actually preferred if you don't have it, but that's okay too. We have two pathways to learning. Pathway 1 is video download. I'm not going to be working with you directly, nor will the assistant teachers, but Pathway 1 is all of the information, and you can do that at any time. You don't have to wait for February. But if you wanted Pathway 2, where you get certified through the Academy, that means you're up for hire at our Ivy League psychic fairs. People hire us for events. We also do monthly walk-in night. Every month we put on a psychic fair. You would be part of that. You would be up for franchising, assistant teacher positions, and you would be trained properly by myself and the assistant teachers to give a 30-minute professional reading to the public. Okay, so you could join if you're interested just in self-development, or you're looking to do this professionally. All right, I do appreciate donations coming in. I see that. And Paul, if we have some and we can get started, I would love to.
We sure do.
Okay.
Okay, this one is from TikTok, Cheryl KJ33. I'd like to know which I am.
Okay. Well, you have two different things going on, all right? So one interesting thing that I see with you that I don't want to dismiss is that you have mediumistic ability running through your bloodline. So I see a grandmother who's passed who keeps an eye on you. May have had darker hair. I think that one of the things that has happened here is that you've had two grandmothers who had the ability, but it seems to miss generations. So sometimes this is an interesting dynamic where we tend to think that within our family we're not all super intuitive, because there are plenty of people, generations in between, who don't show any signs of it. Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody is a psychic. Everybody is a medium. Everybody has some level of empathic ability. There are 4 levels to that. But there are definitely people who have it to a heightened degree, and you would be one of these. It does tend to be hereditary. Now, I think that because that's been with you your whole life, when you're just born with it, you tend to not notice that you have it because you don't know any different. This is all you've ever known, is that spirits follow you, and maybe you have a lot of houses that seem to have paranormal or haunted activity, and you know when someone needs a healing message and their loved ones are coming through. If someone passed and you have a coworker who's suffering from that, you would just know that. And these spirits would just come to you. I do think that you need to learn the language to understand if it's something you want to start delivering. Okay, giving those messages out to people does require some level of training to be accurate and appropriate. Now, the other thing I see with you is empathic ability, the second level moving into the third level. And what that's going to mean is that in the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, I'm hearing intensely 7 months, you've been having some interesting experiences where you went from being fairly intuitive to what other people were thinking and feeling to absolutely being overwhelmed by it. And when we hit the higher levels, 3 and 4, we need to start guarding ourselves, okay? So we do have a training up on the website called Empathic Awareness that would help you to learn blocking techniques and cleansing techniques. But both of these skills fit together beautifully. If you have empathic ability, you automatically have mediumistic and psychic abilities. That's a given. And I think that one of the things you would be skilled at is communicating with others, almost like a counselor, and you are able to give healings. So we are talking energetically, so we would say energy work, anything like Reiki, psychic surgeries, but readings would definitely be a nice possibility for you.
Cool. Okay, this one is from Ira.
Okay. Grandma's very proud of you. I should also mention that. Just in life in general. Okay?
She says, I've been hearing a lot of ringing in my ears and having plugged up ears lately. I've also been smelling and tasting things that aren't actually there. What is this about?
Okay, well, the ringing in the ears, and I do have a class up here. You can go to the playlist Paul has organized. It's called My Ears Are Ringing. So anyone who gets a tinnitus, a feeling of pressure in the ears, or a feeling like your ears are clogged or like a seashell is up to it. Some people get it like a vibrating or their ear gets red or hot. That counts. Tingling counts. So My Ears Are Ringing will help you break it down. But the ringing in the ears is two different, things. That is the left side spirit communication. That means spirits are coming through trying to deliver messages to you or through you. And the right side is your psychic ability kicking in, your higher mind, your intuition. A lot of people say, well, this is a warning, right? The grandmothers used to say, left for love, right for spite, if your ears were ringing. That's fairly accurate. But it's more like left for spirits, and we don't know if they're coming from a high or low vibration. So we don't know that it's love, but it could certainly be. Most spirits who come through, all spirits from the light, are giving a healing message, for sure. And right is not necessarily spite, but it can be a warning. And whenever your gut instinct is kicking in, whenever your psychic ability is kicking in, you want to collect all the information that you can at that time. What is happening around you? Who just messaged you on social media? What is going on in your life at that time? And you're going to be able to use that information typically within 3 days to 2 weeks. It's going to help you to move forward in a certain area of your life. What was the second part she said she has?
Been smelling and tasting things.
Smelling and tasting things that are not there is not necessarily connected to the ear ringing, but it could be. Especially when we talk about the left ear ringing. The left ear ringing, again, spirit communication, mediumistic abilities, spirits wanting to talk to you or through you. That can come with something called clairaugusting. Clairaugusting is the ability to taste and smell phantom odors and flavors that are not there. So you may smell cigarette smoke and no one else smells cigarette smoke. You could literally be like choking on it and sure that your clothes stink. And it's coming from a spirit who used to smoke, who maybe died from cancer. And that's part of the way you as a medium would be able to properly identify them. You may smell your grandmother's lilac bushes or her perfume, okay, or the pipe, cherry tobacco that your grandpa used to smoke, things like this. And it will come and it will go. Typically, no one else will smell it but you, clairaugusting.
That's a fun one.
That is a fun one. I like that. It helps with what we call evidential mediumship, so that if you do decide to ever become a reader, you want to give messages out to other people, when you can say specifically what brand of cigarette somebody smoked, or what their perfume smelled like, or what their favorite flower was, or what they used to cook. That is evidential mediumship. That is powerful stuff. Yeah.
Alex is asking, can you tell me my class and what I'm strongest in? What I need to be working with, or if there's more than that, like healing and things like that.
Okay, so Alex wants to know what her clairs are. So let's see what stands out really with you. One of the things I'm getting with you is clairsentience. Clairsentience and clairempathy. So a lot of people think that these are the same, and they really are not. So be careful where you're getting your information. Don't go to amateurs for training. Now, the big difference between the two of these is physical symbology and physical impressions, energetic physical, impressions. So when we talk about clairsentience, we're talking about you having the ability to pick up in your body, as though it is real, something somebody else is experiencing, living or deceased. So if a spirit comes too close to you, or if a spirit wants to communicate with you, this could be accidental, but you will start to feel in your physical body what they went through when they passed. Or if they were sick before they passed, and that still carries in their energy field, you would feel what illnesses they had, pains. Now, you would feel this for the living, and this means that you need to really guard your energy. I would recommend the empathic awareness training up on could you put that website link in here for them?
Yeah.
Ivy Rivera, empathiceducator.com. I'm not saying this is connected to empathic ability, but the same tools you use there at that class will work for this. So basically you could sit next to someone and all of a sudden you would feel what they're feeling. Now, say they have the flu, or say they're pregnant, or say they have a horrible headache, or they're really depressed. They're super anxious. You would be picking up on that physically in your body. That can get really confusing and really overwhelming. So it becomes hard to know what is mine and what is others. And that's what we teach in the empathic awareness class. Now, Claire, empathy is about other people's thoughts and emotions. And you also pick up on this. This would make you very skilled in things like, life coaching others, helping others to find the right healing path, helping others to deal with trauma, because you'll understand it on a different and sometimes even deeper level than what they do. Okay, people tend to tune out to their pain, and you would be able to put it into words and give them a roadmap to success. Okay?
Very cool. Quarantine Creations 2020. Can you be a mix of all three?
Of what? The
Psychic,
abilities?
medium, and empath. Yeah.
Absolutely. Could you be all three? So what we have here is psychic ability. Everybody has it, but yes, some people have it to a heightened degree. Now, psychic ability does not necessarily mean that you're so able to channel spirits that you would really consider yourself a medium. Not so much. So psychic ability can stand alone. But when you're a medium, and yes, everybody has mediumistic abilities, just meaning that spirits don't need you to validate them. You could be a skeptic and spirit doesn't care. Spirit will still communicate with you, okay? So, but when you have mediumistic abilities to a heightened degree, you're automatically psychic. That's why we say psychic medium, okay? Now, when you get up to the highest level of these abilities, we're talking about empathic ability. So empaths automatically have all three. So we're talking a combination that surfaces at different times where you really can get a bit overwhelmed and need to learn, wait a minute, what part of my intuition is being activated at this time or that time, and what is it really good for? What should I use it for instead of just allowing it to overwhelm me? So yes, you can have all three, and if you're an empath, you absolutely do.
Okay.
I will also say this. Sometimes I see arguments on this where people say, that's not what that means. Only some of us are gifted with those abilities. No, none of this is a gift, okay? Actually, in the medical community, it's considered a disorder. So there is no such thing as a gift. But when they started studying empathic ability way back when, before we had all this great new research, they believed it was something psychics had. So that right there goes to show you that the scientific and medical research was based on psychic ability. It absolutely is part of it, no doubt.
Okay, this one is from Crystal.
Okay.
It says, I'm certain I have some abilities, but I don't know what to do with it or if I am able to improve it. What level am I and how can I refine it?
Well, what you have is an ability to find things. That's the first thing that your spirit guides are showing me. Whether you're finding things using remote viewing, which means in your head, or you're finding things with like your hands. So here's a good example. Sometimes someone will say to me, I lost my wedding ring, and I will have to go into my mind's eye, use clairvoyance, the ability to watch like a vision, a situation or an object. And I can find where it is, okay? But sometimes if I lost something, like in my purse, the abyss, okay? I have these huge purses and they're always a train wreck. So like if I lost something in my purse or I lost something in my house, I can find it with my hands without looking. So I can read energy with my hands. You have this ability to find things. I think that it's a matter of what you want to do with that. So whichever one you feed more, you're going to get more of. That's the key. You also have a ton of paranormal, how do I want to say this? Energy that follows you. Sometimes, we say paranormal and we think that's bad. It's not bad. It's paranormal. It's the real definition of paranormal is something that sort of can't be explained, scientifically or measured necessarily all the time. So when I'm talking about paranormal activity following you, I'm talking about you being drawn to old buildings, atmospheres, and spirits being drawn to you. You may notice that you affect electronics a lot, or that it's not even you affecting the electronics, but that there are spirits around you that are affecting the electronics. So batteries draining, light bulbs burning out, computer systems shutting down. Now that can also be a sign of level 3-4 empathic ability, and you would have to break up which is going on when. But I think that with the paranormal energy that follows you, it puts you in a higher skill set than the average intuitive to be able to maybe help people cleanse their houses or help people to cleanse their bodies if they were to have a paranormal attachment or a possession. So that's also something to keep in mind. Now, that's not something we toy with lightly. Of course, you want proper training. So we hope to see you for the psychic mediumship course. That's the best way to get ahead. Yeah.
Okay, this one is from Still the Illest One on TikTok. I see things before they happen and feel energy. What am I?
You're a psychic. So when you see things before they happen, or they have happened in the past, but you weren't there, or they're happening currently, but you had no way of knowing that, you're clairvoyant. You are able to accurately predict without any previous knowledge the past, the present, and the future with such precision that it can be proven as accurate. It's something that you would definitely want to toy with. I think that one of the great things about learning more about your psychic abilities is that because it can be proven, you can journal it, you can log it, you can keep track of the visions that you're having, and then later on, or through proper research on the past, find the evidence. And I would. Yeah, it's very accurate with you.
Okay. Chelsea Ross, 00. I'm sure I'm an empath, but I'm not sure about the levels.
I would say 2. So when we look at empathic ability, we break down all 4 levels in the empathic awareness training up on the website. Like I said, for those of you who join the psychic mediumship course, that is week 2 of your curriculum. So you'll be taking it anyways. When we look at what you have going on, I'm feeling a level 2. And I feel that one of the things you might be noticing is possible overabsorption of other people's energy or depressive energy from the atmospheres around you that can upset your stomach. So I can't prescribe a diagnosis, but sometimes when we develop things that are similar to like irritable bowel syndrome, you're just upset in your stomach and you don't know why. It does not seem to correlate with food, or maybe the doctors can't find anything. It could be this. Empathic people, especially between the 2nd and the 3rd level, develop a couple different unfortunate side effects, and that tends to be stomach upset, pain through the upper shoulders or up into the head, and headaches. We could also see things like ADHD-like symptoms, anxiety disorders, or depression. So you want to make sure that at this point, before you go up any higher, the way I divide it up is levels 1, 2, I pool them, and then 3, 4, and I pool those. Before you move into that 3rd and 4th level, you're going to want to get the proper training to start blocking things out and cleansing properly. You want to manage your energy before it gets any more than that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one is from Lauren.
Okay.
So, I have done psychic work and think I'm an empath. I've done mediumship, but I don't know what my strength or focus should be.
Well, I think that's always really important to talk to your guides about. That's what they're there for. So your work and money guide is overseeing your life contract. Your life contract is what you signed on to do before you came to Earth. So that's something you should be dealing with your work guide on. That is without a doubt, an area where he would be talking to you all the time and interrupting your sleep more to make sure the messages get across about what work you actually belong in. You can also book a contract reading with me at any time where we can examine what you signed on to. what I'm feeling would be a good, let's say, next step for you is to work a little bit more with energy in regards to your hands. And whenever I see somebody working with their hands, I know that we're talking about, it could be tarot cards or things like this, but I'm also seeing with you crystals and stones. I don't know a ton about that, so I'm not going to get into that, but that is symbolic of healing the body. Okay, so when I see somebody working with their hands, it could be a combination of that, and primarily for you, I see something called hot hands. Now, we talk about this at Reiki. We talk about this at psychic surgery here at the Academy. Hot hands is where you have energy, healing energy from the universe trying to escape. Why is it trying to escape? Because there's someone near you who needs it, or there's a toxic situation that requires some help, some healing to go in a better direction. And all healers get alerted. And so it's like it would be trying to come out, but you don't seem to know what to do with it. So I feel as though you're good at doing traditional, healing work verbally. So we could be saying, tarot, giving readings. But when I start to see things like crystals and hot hands, we're talking about literal healing through either light touch or no touch energy work therapies. And I think it's important to remember at a time like this, where we're all dealing with the pandemic, that it is an illusion that you have to have customers come to you to lay hands on them. You could send this long distance, and actually, that's always been a myth, that we can't do that. You can heal anyone, anywhere, at any time from where you are. It does not require that they be there or even that they connect with you through technology. So start working with that next. Now, and the point to all of that I was going to say for you is that it opens up your mind to other areas of intuition that you have, because I really do feel ultimately you want to get into straight up psychic mediumship work and stay there. You just want to be able to maximize, how do I want to say this? Polish your skills and your craft, but you can't do that until you do that part. Okay, so it's this first, that later. Yeah.
Okay. Baseball Mom 0.
Okay.
I can't stop taking on other people's feelings. I think one of my kids is the same. Not sure if being an empath is hereditary, but how do I help us out?
Yeah, being an empath is hereditary. So that's scientifically proven. They've done plenty of research on that part of it. It is without a doubt something that gets handed down. And typically when you see, and this is just from my own experience, when I see someone with 3 to 4 kids, we would look at 1 to 2 children having it. So it's pretty rare to see that all of your kids would have it. But it's usually that one kid ends up having it. And there would be a special bond between you and that child, an understanding. You see the world in a different way. A lot of people confuse this for soulmate connection and things like that, when it's really empathic ability. But I think too that it can cause a lot of problems. And I think that's an aspect of it that people don't talk about. It's glorified, but we don't want to look at the toxicity of the way you and this child in particular can accidentally overabsorb each other's thoughts and stress. And it can be really, really hard. It can become almost like an enmeshment and a codependent kind of weirdness. So you want to be mindful of that child. You also want to be mindful of your other kids and how when they act up or they're going through something, you overabsorb that, and how your moods, your thoughts, your energy literally affects them as well, because we all affect each other. We don't all have to be empathic. Like I said, we're all empathic on some level, but we don't all have to be super high level empaths to affect each other. One of the classes you can check out here, it's free, is called Empaths in the Pandemic. That's on the playlist. I talk about how we all have been affecting each other through 2020, especially, and the crises that have gone on. The other training that you would want to check out is called Parent to Child Empathic Awareness, and that's up on the Empathic Educator website.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this one is from Kayla.
Okay.
Says, I feel highly empathic and I'm working on tapping into my abilities. I've read and learned so much as I continue to learn. I want to start a blog and write a book, eventually sharing. But I think she wants to know if this is true.
If what's true?
If she has these abilities.
Well, we all have these abilities. So It's funny when people tune in for the first time, it's like, we talk about this every week and all the time. It's not a gift. It's not a gift. That's a myth. That is something people have designed to make cash. It's still a widespread myth, okay, that intuitives are supposed light workers are pushing hard right now because we have the Great Awakening going on. And with the Great Awakening going on, so many light workers being called forward to heal the world, we see that the old school, supposed light workers are saying, you don't have that ability. This is a gift. You have to be born with it. They're liars. They're frauds. They're cons. Everybody has this. It is innate, and we need to get back in touch with our roots. Okay.
So she had a second half that it's posted here.
Okay.
Write a book eventually, sharing what I've learned and experienced. Also very passionate about art, oil painting, and drawing. I'm so torn, and I hope you can help.
Okay. Well, here's one thing to understand. If you have a lot of artistic abilities, it is connected to the right side of the brain. So whether you're a musician, you're a painter, you're a sculptor, you're a psychic medium, all of this is the right side of the brain, right? So we have left logical side, right intuitive and creative side. And when I have students who come in who've never painted or drawn a thing in their entire lives, they come in for the psychic mediumship training, they all of a sudden start painting and picking up instruments and making all kinds of art. And so I think what you're trying to do, Kayla, is categorize what you should be doing, and you can't do that with art. An artist just composes. An artist just creates when something is ready to be channeled through you. And don't overcomplicate it by doing what society wants you to do. Put it in a box, put a label on it, minimize it. Don't do that. That's not real art, nor is it real spiritual work. Okay, we have to be ready in the moment to give whatever wants to channel through us. And so you could do all of that. And I think that you should. And I think that later that would be part of your story, is how one time you thought you had to categorize yourself and label your beautiful ability to channel, and you learned how never to do that. That will probably be a big part of that book.
Okay, Rachel says, I have a lot of problems with my ears ringing and muffling, odd realistic dreams as well as dreams that come true. I'm wanting to develop things to be able to help people or make a career change, and I thought about taking your classes. What do you think or hear about this?
Well, I think that it's definitely time, and I'll tell you why. By the time someone has the ear ringing, and by the time their dreams have become as active as yours have, I actually tell my students in the very first class, that's a sign that you're ready to train and do something with it. So let's talk about these things. I do want to explain that we are at about the halfway mark, correct? So,
yeah, a little over.
Okay, so we are going to be shifting off of TikTok at this time. TikTokers, if we didn't get your questions yet, switch to YouTube at Ask Ivy. We're going to continue there. Hope to see you guys next time. Feel free to follow for tons of videos on all kinds of intuitive intelligence information. All right, so let's talk to you about this ear ringing and the dreams. One of the most common things I see before someone is really ready to officially train in their abilities to better understand themselves, but also to manage the energy and then learn how to properly give it out to others in a productive way. The ears tend to ring incessantly. So it's not necessarily both ears at once, but it's like this one, and then, the next thing you know, you finally got rid of that. A couple days later, it's the right ear, and then sometimes it is both, especially when you're sleeping. When you wake up, your ears might be ringing. When you're dozing off, that's when the veil is lifted, okay? When you're dozing off and waking up, the veil between the worlds is lifted, so ear ringing can increase. And then the next really common thing I see is dreams. So I talked to my students in the first class about that being a sign that you have spillover. When our dreams become so vivid and are so frequently used for prophecy, meaning that we have visions about the future that are accurate, and we don't just have this for us anymore, we start to have it for other people. That's a sign that you're going to have spillover. And that means that you've reached such a peak with your abilities that you can no longer just contain them to like the sleep state, or, well, it's nice when I meditate, or it's when I want it. It's not like that anymore. Now you will have it all day when you're awake too, which means prophecy is kicking in throughout the day, and you need to start learning how to manage all of the energy absorption because it can become disruptive. We talked a little bit earlier about things like anxiety and depression and ADHD-like symptoms. Again, I can't prescribe or diagnose, but this is very common to see. And it's at this point where you are, where if you don't manage it, it will become more of a distraction than something really useful, and it loses its charm, you know? So absolutely, I would. That ability to see things clearly in your dreams is the same ability that you have when you're awake, clairvoyance.
Okay. We have one from Gabriel.
Okay.
Gabrielle, I would like to know if the reason I forget things so easily has to do with any abilities I have.
It is. I just recently saw some research on this. I wish I would have tracked where it came from. I'll go dig it back out. But I recently just saw some interesting studies on this that talked about memory loss and intuitives, and how we basically, I would say this too, I've also seen where this is connected to a high intelligence level, and I do find that people that are really intelligent do tend to use the right side of their brain a lot, and that's the intuitive side. I think that it's all the same thing, and what can happen is that you can't retain all of that information. So whether we're saying like, well, you're super intelligent, so you just can't retain all of that information. Basically, it's like this. The brain is incredibly smart, right? And we know what we need, and we know what's trash. And it's kind of a miraculous thing that our brain can just naturally take what is garbage, even though you maybe think logically that you need all that information. It's just like it gets wiped out and removed. And then when you do need that information in a serious way, it will resurrect itself or seem to recreate itself. A great example of this is how I have no recollection of anyone I've read. I have no recollection of anything I've ever said. So how is it that I could sit with a client for a whole hour and tell them everything about their life and then not remember any of that when I bump into them later out in public, or they send an email and they're like, oh, hey, one more question. I don't remember any of this. My brain could not possibly hold all of that information. And so it's selective. It is normal. I do have a lot of students who are experiencing what you do, and a lot of them don't like it. We call it getting airheaded, okay? You tend to be a little bit fluffy up there. It's sort of like, I'm just with the flow and I can't think anymore. The logical left side of your brain isn't being exercised as much as it used to. It is also useless in a lot of ways, okay? So try not to pass so much judgment on it. Just try to go with the flow, because that's essentially what your mind and your body is doing right now, is go with the flow of the energy.
Okay. This one is from Liz.
Okay.
Can you comment on the false expectations pop culture has about mediumship and how it impacts our ability to connect?
False expectations? Yeah, I thought about doing a series of videos on this, but nobody seems to care, hence the false expectations. Okay, yes, we have a huge gap in communication, and a lot of people just aren't interested in trying to get past it. With the awakening, I am hoping, that we'll see more clarity, and certainly I've dedicated my life to bringing that clarity and education to the language, but I would say that the biggest misinterpretations are based on demand and a lack of gratitude. So we commonly see people who, first of all, don't even know what a medium is, but they think they know what they should demand of that medium. Till you even know what you just booked, until you even know who you just went to, you shouldn't be demanding a certain product. So I think people don't do their research. They assume that we're all the same, and we're not. So I think that people don't know anything about mediumship. I think people have a lot of ideas about what a psychic is, but this is not the same thing. So a psychic who can tell the past, the present, and the future accurately is not necessarily a medium. A medium is channeling spirits from the other side, and they can predict the past, the present, and the future accurately. So there is this element of bringing in the whole spirit world, ancestors, guides, angels, God, animals. And it is a huge responsibility. And when you see mediums that don't look healthy, or you get a weird feeling from it, you should be very careful, because there are many spirits in the world. Okay, so when people say, well, I'm a medium, that doesn't mean anything to me. You know, that's like when people say, well, I'm spiritual, that doesn't mean anything to me. I got to know who you're talking to. Who are you dealing with? People who tap into lower dark energies could be channeling that and giving you advice from the dark. Okay, so we need to be careful. But when we are talking about mediums, light workers, who are channeling spirits in the light that are only giving those healing messages, that comes with a law. That comes with rules. And they don't engage in certain types of activity that we see in society today, like greed, like aggression, like demand. The way spirit flows through a healthy medium, a genuine light worker, is with order and an appreciation, a respect, a willingness, an openness. And this is about having an attitude of gratitude, not only towards your reader and yourself, but also the spirits that are coming through, and having an openness to receive whatever those messages are. And one of the key things I see is that people want to hear something very specific and from someone specific and in exactly the way they think it should come through you. And that's not how this works. And so that's a great example of how we have all of these areas of, I want to say ego, right? Fear and control and manipulation that don't fit. There's no ego in this work. So when we look at our society and we say people don't really want to understand, they just want to command and demand, they sometimes feel that the spirit that came through with the healing message for them isn't good enough. It's not enough. They didn't say what I wanted them to say, or you didn't prove to me that that was them. And it's like, hey, sorry, Charlie. Okay. I'm not going to boss spirit around. Spirit can come and tell me whatever they want to tell me, and I'm going to do my best job to relay that interpretation to you. Through me. And yeah, there's a huge gap there. So we have a lot of people wandering around who either don't receive the healing properly, or they're arrogant about it, or they think that it's like fake or fraudulent in some way, but they really just are uneducated, very ignorant. Bye.
Okay. We have one from Jennifer.
Okay.
Says, I would like to know what I am. I've been having episodes of things and am confused on some of them.
One of the things that I'm seeing is an ability to predict. Okay, so I see you predicting answers, and that's where we're going to talk about your clairvoyant ability. The other thing that I'm seeing is an increase in mediumship. And for you, it isn't just about communicating with the spirits. Here's one of the things we want to watch for when our mediumistic abilities kick in. Is that spirits start to get very drawn. Spirits are very drawn to us, and we don't really understand what's going on. You could feel like there's paranormal activity around you, like your sleep patterns have changed, like something's waking you, especially between 3 and 5:30 in the morning. That's the haunting hour. So that's when spirit activity kicks up. You have to understand that before you're like a full-on medium and you're channeling a ton of messages, right? You have to learn the language, of course. But you have to know that they just start being drawn to you like a magnet. It's almost like your light's on. And so I see that. I also see that you're able to predict things. So let's say you were, taking a test. Say you were in a class, or, you were in a meeting or something. You were taking some kind of a test. It's almost like you would be able to predict what was coming next or what the answer might be. I also see you looking at other people and being able to do that. And so what that means is that you've reached a point with your clairvoyant ability. You have an ability to predict the past, the present, and the future accurately. You could do it with other people at this point. So if someone is sitting near you, you can know what's going to happen to them. You can know if they're making a bad decision. I saw the same thing with the paperwork again. So let's say somebody was, filling out a test. You would be able to be like, no, you're about to get that one wrong. This is the right answer. That's all symbolic of you feeling and reading energy accurately and being able to guide others in the right direction. So you just need to really perfect the craft.
Okay. This is from Tanisha.
Okay.
How do I know what I'm supposed to do with my abilities? I'm not able to take classes right now.
Well, I would say start with, for those of you that can't take the psychic mediumship course, you would want to look at the free classes that I put up here on the playlist. And I would honestly just go through whatever your spirit guides point you to. Try not to just binge. Try to pay attention to where you're being led next, because this is a progression. And I think when people overdo it, or they think that the smartest thing to do is to read like 50 books and take 50 classes and then try to apply it, they end up with no ability or feeling like they have no ability. And that's a sign that you've created a block. Okay, it's too much. There is a natural flow to this. And I think it's really important for where you are right now to start working with your guides. So I would recommend, if you can't take the whole psychic mediumship course, take one of the most important classes I have in that curriculum is called Meet Your Guides. That's up on the website. You're going to be introduced to the 5 guides that were appointed to you before you came to Earth. And as long as you're talking to them every day, everything else will fall into place. They literally dictate this part of your life. Really every part of your life, as much as they can. They would prefer, but they're not allowed. But your joy guide in particular watches over your spiritual development. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's from Alexia. I would love to know what psychic abilities I have. I've been trying to strengthen them, but I'm not sure which abilities I have.
Well, you seem to have some extrasensory stuff going on with taste. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you find that you're almost like hypersensitive to smells, to tastes, to noises, to lights, things like this. This is also connected to your empathic ability. So we're talking level 3 empathic ability with you. There's only one level beyond that. Some of the things that we start to see on level 3 is telepathy and electric person syndrome. So let's just talk about that real quick. Now, when you develop telepathy, it can make you feel as though you're going out of your mind, because you will start to hear inner voices. It can be in your own your own voice in your head, but it's almost like your thinking ramps up and you're having thoughts coming from other people, but you don't identify it as that. You just think you're thinking too much, or there's too much noise in your head. And when we notice that we're getting kind of paranoid, okay, that's usually the first sign that you hit a level 3-4 empathic ability, is the paranoia or the judgment, okay, or a sense of being more reserved. Maybe you start to feel like you're more of an introvert than an extrovert. This is a sign that you're picking up on other people's thoughts. And so there is sometimes reason to be careful around other humans. Say you go into a business meeting and the lady across from you, she wants your job. She wants your position. Well, now that you're a level 3 empath, you may literally hear that and know that, but you have no proof. So you start to get a little weird with others. And you may start to pull back socially in a lot of ways. Now, one of the things that we have coinciding with this at the 3rd level is something called electric person syndrome. So that means that when you get really excited or really angry, you're really happy about something, you're super upset, you're going to shut down computer systems, shut down your phone, you're going to drain batteries. Sometimes you can fully recharge a battery. You see batteries on watches draining, light bulbs burning out. If you go under street lights, you'll go under it and then it'll go off and then you keep going and it'll go back on and then the next one goes off and then back on. So you can also see when you're with other empaths, because whenever they're upset, they shut down the technology. You could have trouble getting through the checkout at the store if you're upset. You may have to step away in order for your credit card to work. They may call managers over a lot. And so this is sort of connected to the way you posed your question when you asked about your psychic abilities, but you need to stop looking at the traditional psychic stuff and start looking at the level 3 empath stuff.
Okay, this is Brittany who asks, is clairvoyance like a bird's eye view?
Another pen down. Another one bites the dust. Brittany. Okay, is clairvoyance like having a bird's eye view?
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by having a bird's eye view. The way I tend to think of, looking above things, like an eagle, flies above the storm, is sort of in a detached way where you're not absorbing everything around you. You're observing everything around you. I'm not sure that that's how you mean it, though. I feel like you mean it in the way where, like, you could just see everything. And I would say that that's pretty accurate, but only on a certain level. So psychic ability, or we would say clairvoyant ability, is the ability to essentially feel other people's, or know, not feel, okay, that's more like clear empathy, but like to know what people are feeling. And it has a lot to do with toxic emotion. So we're talking about human emotion, and we're talking about dynamic events. That's what a psychic will pick up on. That's why if you ever go and you just get a straight up psychic reading, they're not necessarily a light worker, they're not a medium, or they're not channeling spirits from the light. You don't know what you just did, but you sat down at a table, you got a psychic, she seems accurate, but she tells you when maybe you're going to die, or maybe they tell you that you're going to have a horrible divorce, or maybe they tell you something's going to go wrong with the pregnancy, or your mom has a disease. People who say things like that, just because they're accurate, doesn't mean they're working with the light. And that's why we're so nitpicky here through the PSC method. Now, one of the things that happens with that psychic ability, again, is the ability to predict tragic circumstances, fear, sadness, and heaviness, right? Any dynamic human emotion, and they tend to be toxic because that's the human way. We have to work really hard at hitting those high notes. We have to work hard at happiness. We have to work hard at mindfulness. We have to work hard at positivity. So that's not necessarily what they're going to pick up on. They're going to pick up on the bad stuff. And then any really dynamic events. Well, what are dynamic events? Having a baby, getting married, death, car accidents, winning the lottery, job loss, tragedy, anything like that. So they just sort of spit it out. Yeah, without an ethical code of conduct. Not to say they're inaccurate, I'll give them that, but yikes. We have to be careful for things like self-fulfilling prophecies. Okay, we want to handle everything within an ethical code. But yes, it is like having a bird's eye view, but only of that stuff. Not necessarily of the higher levels of what the healing messages should be. Not necessarily tapping into the higher energies of the universe. Not necessarily channeling. And, definitely not necessarily understanding bigger prophecies and what the purpose is to everything. It's sort of that low level, beginning, jumping off stage.
Okay, this is from Lola Marie.
Okay.
Can you let me know what gifts I have and how I can perfect them?
Well, you definitely have mediumistic abilities. This for you is hereditary, so I don't feel like you were triggered into it from sometimes we have traumatic life events and then we wake up and we're mediumistic. But I feel like this is something you were born with. So down through the bloodline, I see it with a couple of your ancestors here. I do think that you also have a lot of empathic ability, and I want to look at this more from clear empathy. So you are able to have a humanitarian outlook. You are able to have compassion for others without having had to go through that experience. A lot of people don't have that ability. A lot of people literally, until they are beaten down, they have no compassion for someone else in that predicament. They are never rooting for the underdog until they are the underdog. You don't have this. You have an ability to understand the human condition in the way that your spirit guides are showing it to me is through language and coming out of your mouth through communication. So you would be skilled in like any kind of publishing. You may want to get into literal publishing, books, okay, as well as video. But you seem to be able, through your mediumistic abilities, spirits communicating with you, spirits channeling messages through you and giving healing to others, and this ability called clair empathy to understand human emotion and thinking, to relay healing messages and direction to others. So you might make like a great life coach. I wouldn't limit yourself with that. That can be a pretty unfulfilling, situation for a lot of people, especially these days. Try not to put a label on it. I'm going to say to you what I said to the girl earlier, Kayla, I think it was, try not to take the abilities that you have and color it in any way. The bottom line for you is that you came to talk to people and to tell stories of humanity and how to use that for empowerment. And that's huge.
Okay. This one is from Denora.
Okay.
Do I have psychic abilities?
So again, did you say one more?
This is one.
Okay. So again, everybody has psychic abilities. What I feel you have going on with yours, though, and at this time, let's just say, is a unique skill to read objects and atmospheres. And this is really cool. I love this one. This is one of my favorite things to train my students in, even if they don't end up using it a ton. You could like hold an object and say where that object came from. Like you could just hold it. It's called psychometry, and not look at it and say who owned it previously, what it's been through, who owns it now, what that person is thinking, maybe deliver healing messages on that. You also seem to be able to go into like buildings or on pieces of land, and you probably think sometimes it's just your imagination. Like, I have an overactive imagination. I really like to daydream. My mind wanders off without me. And it's like you're going on this ride, So I think this is one of the best parts of having these abilities. Personally, I like going into old buildings. I like going on land that has a lot of history, that maybe had tribes living on it at one time. And then, we could see what old town was there, but that's not what it looks like anymore. Maybe right now it's just apartment buildings or it's a big city. But you would be able to read those stories. Like the land would speak to you. This is clairvoyance. Again, it's like you're having visions of, and when, you get near objects, say you're shopping, okay, you may also notice that you don't like to touch certain things. I just put a video up on my TikTok about this that you're going to want to check out, Denora. So we have this innate ability to, almost like OCD, touch an object and know whether it holds negativity or positivity. And we sometimes don't want to touch things, or we refuse to sit somewhere, or you're picking out your toilet paper and you got to dig 6 rolls back. That's the good one, So it's reading energy, reading atmospheres, reading objects, past, present, future. That's where your psychic ability is really like on fire right now. I think it's super entertaining. We don't always know exactly what we're supposed to do with that. However, I will say this would make you very skilled in paranormal work if you feel that people always want you to come like cleanse their house or bless their house. That's not what they're asking. They want you to come cleanse their house. But also criminal investigations, missing persons. And we do cover that in the curriculum twice, actually. Yeah. That's a fun one. We ended it on a high note. We are out of time. Paul will be doing the midweek, healing and prayer service right now. We'll be starting that up if you guys need healing or prayer. Otherwise, hope to see you at Roots Revival Church Service, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, everyone, for the donations. If you guys want to become a member for behind-the-scenes extras and curriculum and stuff like that, hit that join button. And when's the next time we'll see everybody? What do we have going on?
Tuesday, the 9th, for shadow work.
No, what's Monday?
Monday. Oh, yeah, that's right. Monday, 10 signs your house is haunted.
10 signs your house is haunted. Free mini class on Monday here on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern. I am replacing my normal Ask Ivy show where I take your personal questions with that this week. Okay, so we'll see you then. Thank you, Polly. Thanks, welcome. Spirit. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Hope to see you at class.